Hey, what's up, Toby? We made it another week.
Hey, buddy. Good to
I
see you.
know we threw everybody off because now we're posting on Mondays.
Oh,
I mean, what are
why
we
in
gonna
the
do?
world? Why in the world would we move Process Debt podcast to Mondays?
Because
Mondays
it
are already
gives
hard start.
because it gives people a reason to listen to on their commute. Yeah. So if
Yes,
you do it on Friday, you've forgotten by Monday,
that's true.
and so let's help our listeners out.
Let's do it. Happy Monday, friends.
Yeah, there we
Great
go.
to be with you.
So I've got a really good topic that comes from a really good quote, and then
Yeah.
I've got a question after the quote. But the
All right.
quote is the wealth of information means a dearth of something else. Scarcity of whatever it is that information consumes. What information consumes is rather obvious. It consumes the intention of its recipient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ripped from the headlines.
Ripped from the headlines.
The more
When
information, the less attention that we have as consumers of all that information.
How old do you think this quote is? How relevant is this quote?
God,
Let's
this
start
seems
there.
this seems super timely, right? This could have been
Super timely.
from anybody. I also feel like um, during the dawn of what you and I experienced as the internet, that
Yeah.
the early '90s, when all of a sudden the proliferation of websites was just overwhelming.
Oh yeah.
All of a sudden, we had access to information everywhere. I can also imagine this being at the outset of cable TV.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
at the 24/7 news cycle, CNN, which was probably early '80s,
Yeah.
maybe?
For sure.
Printing press, Guggenheim? I don't what, what's the year on this?
This quote is from 1971,
71.
which
Oh my
is older
lord.
than both of us, maybe.
Yeah.
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 So
Almost as old as me. It just seems
uh
really old, Chris.
it's very interesting that this came from an article in 1971.
Yeah.
And yet, isn't it interesting how some of these the dearth, as it says,
The
that's coming at us as far as information and our ability to maintain and our ability to process,
yeah.
we just keep getting hit with newer, better technology and better dearths, I guess.
All the dearths.
All the dearths, every single one of them.
Yeah, dearth is it's such an interesting word, because it's not a word that's common today.
No.
And honestly, it's recognizable, but you and I are both readers.
Yep.
So, um, yeah, it's just it's a lack, it's a scarcity, right?
Yep.
And so what's interesting though is that the quality of the information, maybe this is something that's changed since the early '70s, is that in the early '70s, if you wanted to publish an article, you didn't control a printing press generally.
No.
And the only articles that got published were in magazines,
Yep.
which meant you had to go through a whole submission and
Yep.
editorial review,
Yep.
and it was a painfully slow process.
Yep.
Today, you throw open a Substack account, say whatever in the hell you want, and then start spamming your network.
Yep.
Or you say whatever you want on social media,
Yep.
but there's no fact checking. And so this scarcity, we've gone from, the constraint was the release of information, not necessarily the production of ideas.
Yep.
And now we've gone beyond even production of ideas. We have machines that we feed ideas to that produce
Yep.
what feels like independent thinking.
Yeah.
So attention is the cost. Does this feel true for you?
Uh,
Does it feel
I find
unique?
I find it incredibly. I feel like my attention span
Yeah.
and even the work that I produce is getting compartmentalized into smaller chunks.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
I I feel sometimes like an ADHD hummingbird, as
Yeah.
I fritter from phone call to, alert on my
Yep.
phone to alert on my computer,
Yeah.
email dinging off or Slack or
Yeah.
it's increasingly difficult to get deep work done.
Yeah.
And it's not that we don't know all the hacks. There's no lack of how to get deep work and blah, blah, world. But that same logic wouldn't have anybody that's obese or out of shape. And so it isn't just lack of information. I draw this parallel with healthy habits for a second,
Yeah.
because um, this idea of you are what you eat is very
Yep.
real in
Yep.
the diet sense, but it's also really true from a mental perspective.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you found an article, good Lord, that went through some kind of academic rigor and review, where did you
I
ever
know.
find such a
Isn't
thing?
that shocking? I've been trying. That's interesting because I've been trying to slow down, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
what is like, if you go back to, the mid 1900s, uh, like manufacturing went through a major shift.
Right.
And the major shift was, and it was driven by Toyota and it was driven by TPS, the Toyota production system. And the major shift was, let's not just push as much product as we can to
Yeah.
the next line. Let's actually think systematically and let's pull stuff one by one. And so the major change there was, it was lean manufacturing, which was only pull through what the system can handle.
This is at the heart of the one piece flow, right?
This is at the heart of the one piece flow.
Let's
100%.
let your capacity dictate your throughput.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
And what we've missed in knowledge work is the ability for that one piece flow. The one piece flow oftentimes ends up being a distraction or an email
Yeah.
or something like that. It becomes non-human. It
Right.
becomes technology, and we're not totally made that way, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, uh, we had Peter Weiss on a few weeks ago joining
Yeah.
us, who has a tremendous background in Toyota way and lean
Yep.
thinking, and
Yep.
how he applies that even more broadly,
Yeah.
which we both found really fascinating. I know.
Yeah.
Um, it is interesting. I'm going to reference the article that you just shared. It's mindful work and mindful technology, redressing digital distraction and knowledge work. And this is as timely as it sounds. This work looks like it came out in 2022, so still pretty current.
Yep.
What's interesting to me though is the premise of it is that all of our digital tooling gets in the way of us being effective.
Yeah.
And so I think about how many digital tools and toys I had when I entered the workforce.
Yep.
And the first time I had a computer in 97, I know, right? First time I was given a computer in the workplace was
Yep.
1997.
Yep.
And I had Microsoft Office
Yep.
and then email. And at that point, I had a web browser.
Yep.
It was all pre-apps.
Yep.
And so everything was still compiled code and it shipped on physical media.
Yep.
And and so this is a really interesting piece where we fast forward to 2026, 30 years in,
Yep.
and now I have easily 5 times that on just my phone, let
Yeah.
alone the other apps that we use on our
Yep.
computers.
Yeah.
And so um, this premise rings true for me. If
Yeah.
only if it's logging in and then doing multi-factor authentication, there's a lot of time that goes down the hole.
Yeah. 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 And one of the things that this article referenced, and the reason why, we might noodle on this article for a couple episodes
It's
because
pretty
it's just
chewy.
it's
Yeah.
just so good.
Yeah.
It talks about how most knowledge workers, and this is in 2022,
Yeah.
so maybe it's changed, but it essentially is a 28% loss of time because of digital distraction.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just take a day.
Yeah. Check out Thursday afternoon and all of Friday and just
Yeah,
disappear.
just call it a day.
So
And yet the corollary of this is we're more distracted, but are we more proud of our work? Right. Which is, kind of going back to that, like the thing that is kind of loss in knowledge work versus
mm,
physical labor is at least at the end of your physical labor, you can actually see the work that you did.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
so there's some sort of satisfaction in the quality of work. And I would say since 2022, the satisfaction in the quality of the work that I've done has probably dipped,
Mm, yeah,
and distraction has probably gone up for me.
yeah,
And so you think about that as a process debt, kind of yin and yang. Like
right.
you have kind of like these, it's almost like a gut punch and an uppercut, 1-2 punch
Yeah,
of not only are we more distracted, but the quality of the work that we can perform and we can or give that we can do, like our best work is going to distraction or being
mm,
crowded out by being distracted versus actually doing quality work. And I think, you brought up Peter Weiss, and one of the things that he said
yeah,
that I basically cannot get out of my mind is as human beings, our ability to maintain uh, information in our conscious mind, in our RAM is
mm,
like 10 bits. Like there's not a whole lot that we
yeah,
can do. And you cut the little pieces of distraction out and you're kind of toast. Like,
yeah.
and so at the end of the day, you feel like, not only did I not do good work, I don't know what work I did.
No,
And
oh,
damn, I'm
what I
tired.
didn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exhausting. When I think, I will say for myself, I was really yawning before we jumped into this episode.
I
And
know you were.
man, Chris, but a little bit of it was, I had a morning full of conversation
Yeah.
that was deep and important,
Yep.
and, um, the ability to marshal that kind of attention and be fully present
Yeah.
to track the moving threads and try to connect the dots.
Yeah.
It's not that the speaker was unclear, it's that there were implications for me that I needed to ponder through.
Yeah.
And so, this is on a construction project that I've been doing with, one of the local head start organizations. We've talked about this
Yep.
off on over the last year. And, but I'll tell you, I found it really exhausting. And a lot of there's a lot of, lighthearted conversation. It's a tremendous group of professionals that I'm working
Yep.
with. And, as you'd mentioned, it's physical work,
Yeah.
not what I'm doing, but we get to see a physical product, right? And
Yeah.
so each week I go on site and we can walk the project. We can see where we're at.
Yep.
We're putting sheetrock up, and
Yeah.
that means that all the plumbing and electrical and insulation has been installed in the walls.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're not done yet, but there's an enormous amount of work now that's taken place, and we're going to hide it because
Yeah.
he wants to stare at that. But to your point, like we've become bite-sized thinkers, or
Yeah.
we're at risk of becoming bite-sized thinkers if we lose our ability to be present for these really
Yeah.
deep conversations.
For sure. Well, and it's cool that you're able to go on site,
Yeah.
right? Like
Gosh.
you like to hang out with the humans, right? Most of us
Right.
are just like we're doing now. Like we're hanging out on Zoom, hundreds and hundreds of miles away.
That's right.
And I there is we kind of have evolved in order to be together.
Yeah.
And even on these Zoom calls, like they talked about Zoom fatigue. Like I should go and find an article on that. Like I'd probably be pretty easy. Just go to some academic journal and do Zoom
Yeah.
fatigue and you would find it. And it's interesting because even that delay of your response of that, half a millisecond that
Right.
it takes to get across the wires causes some fatigue because we are not made to have those delayed
Mm.
responses and miss the Duchenne smile, the real laugh, or the fake smile, or the frown, or the wink, or whatever we're doing. Like we were not
Totally.
made to not be connected to the people around us.
No, 100%. It's interesting that you mentioned so many of those little things that we don't even register
Yeah,
ourselves in the moment.
yeah,
Um, I also think that there's a measure of energy that you experience from being in a group. And
Yeah.
so, uh, for folks that are less extroverted, being on Zoom, on the one hand, feels like the least painful way to be in a group, but you're also not getting any of the physical energy that
Yep.
humans emit, and I
Yeah.
think often buoys us.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, this idea, 28% of our time is now being being eroded, by our tooling is
Yeah.
alarming because
Yeah.
it does beg the question, how much is enough?
Yeah.
I was doing some research, gosh, 6, 8 months ago about how many tools does a typical organization use.
Oh, geez.
And even for small and mid-sized companies, the average number of applications per person was
Hmm.
closer to 60. And then you go up into a larger organization and that number even swells higher. And while it's not specific to a person, I'm assuming in the bigger organizations, we're starting to see more specialized software.
Yeah.
Um, but the fact that just switching a job, going back again to the mid 90s,
Yeah.
I had a handful of applications and
Yeah.
that's how we interfaced with everything.
Yeah.
And if I'm
Yeah.
the company, the ERP system still remains the same. But
Yeah.
today, that's not the case.
It's interesting. One of the topics, and maybe we'll save this for next time.
Yeah.
But we've moved the friction in our
Mhm.
work. The friction in our work, if you go back 100 years, the friction in the work was you had to get up, go and talk to someone, get on the phone, right? You get a busy signal, which, for those of that you have never had a busy signal, for a long time in Toby and I's growing up, you would call your friend, and if someone was on the phone, you got a busy signal, and that meant that you couldn't do anything. And so typically what that meant is go get on your bike and go right and knock on their door. But the friction
Right.
was up front. And even in work, if you needed something done, you had to go to someone for them to create a report, type a report, read a
Right.
report. There was a lot of friction up front. And so that friction's been moved in our business work process. That friction is no longer there. So I can Slack you, I
Yeah.
can send you an email, I can call you, I can text you, I can ping you on LinkedIn. And so we've moved there. There is no, the friction is in like we've completely removed it in our ability to connect. And so our work has gone from synchronous, right? Where it's like I had to go and knock on Toby's door and say, "Hey, Toby, can you come and play?"
Right.
I had to, knock on,
You had to
watch out
literally
for
take it down.
for the intimidating parents. They're like, "He can't play right now." Okay, I'll leave.
Hope he's in trouble right now.
He has to do the dishes.
Yeah,
What
totally.
are the dishes? But anyway, like that friction, that we become asynchronous,
Yeah.
and that asynchronous part of our work leads to more distraction, which leads to that 28% loss of effort that could be like just eliminated, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't know how many times like in your day to day, you're like, if you would have thought you could have had an answer to that,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
you wouldn't have had to bug me,
That
right?
meeting could have
Or
been an email,
that
could have
meeting
been
could have been
anything if you would have taken 3
100%.
seconds. I do think, yeah, it's really fascinating. If I go back to the one piece flow,
Yeah.
the the heart of the heart of a productive week for me is generally having 3 to 5 big stones that I was able to move forward in a
Yep.
material way.
Yeah.
And one of the healthiest habits that I've found is not tracking every moment, and it's not the Pomodoro technique of time blocking. What it really is making a commitment at the outset of the week. And I use
Yep.
status reports with clients.
Yep.
Here's what was accomplished this week. Here's what's on deck next week.
Yep.
And at times I wax into all the detail, that's probably more
Mhm.
than they care about. But just the idea of like, what are the big stones this week? Our
Yeah.
calendars get cluttered.
Yep.
As you said, we have so many channels for people to ask and request and plead and
Yeah.
demand, work product.
Yeah.
But the truth is, and I feel oftentimes like this is where agile the heart of Agile, the piece that we missed goes back to this very topic. And it's that when you put the producer in control of their schedule and give them the autonomy to
Yep.
exercise their time and energies to produce a deliverable,
Hmm.
that looks really different. When they're
Hmm.
working with a backlog and they're choosing it with
Yep.
agreement about what that highest priority is, it looks totally different than just getting inundated with 1,000 things.
Yep.
Somebody can always dream up one more
Yeah.
task, right?
Yep.
It doesn't make us any more productive.
Yeah. It isn't, there is a really nice elegance when it comes to true agile in that it manages injections,
Yeah, that's
right?
right.
And injections are a really important thing to manage.
Yeah.
And we've kind of gone away from that because of the, the other, because of the frictionless part of connecting and pinging, not thinking like that kind of collective mind that we've
Yeah.
had.
Well, and I think that with all the tooling too, our sense of estimation has improved, but our actual ability of estimation hasn't necessarily.
Yeah. And I
And so
think,
all the technology in the world, I'm going back to my construction project, um, where windows are supposed to be delivered tomorrow.
yep,
You would think that by today we should be able to see not just that they've been shipped, but they're on a truck. Where is that truck?
yep,
Right, we have that expectation today.
yep,
All that tooling and technology doesn't necessarily guarantee the commitment for the windows and that they're going to show up on
yeah,
site tomorrow.
for sure.
And, if we go back 30 years,
Yep,
it was you have a regular relationship with with this supplier. They know that you're going to be buying. You've continued to buy. You pay
yep,
on time. The things that matter were the things that we had all the more attention for.
yep,
And today, instead of having a phone call, what we get is these random emails that kind of spam out
yep,
and give the appearance of updates.
yeah.
So
I think that the one kind of process that takeaway for
yeah,
this week is really own your distractions.
Mhm.
So don't habitually react to a distraction, intentionally be distracted. I think that's the one takeaway.
Be intentionally distracted. I like that,
Yeah.
Chris.
All right, man.
Good stuff.
All right. Catch you next week.
All right, sounds good. See you
See
later.
you, man.